like to call to order the 537th meeting. If you wish to be heard at this meeting, please sign the speaker list provided on the table at the side of the council chamber, and the chairman reserves the right to limit the amount of time each speaker has for each agenda item. Ms. Green, if you would please call the roll.
Councilman Smalls, Mr. Welford, Mr. Williford,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Kish,
Here.
Mrs. Highland, Chairwoman Bettman.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. We all received, agenda item 2, we have each received a copy of the minutes from the January 12th, 2016 meeting. Are there any questions or comments?
No, I thought it was
Recommend approval.
a second.
Ms. Green, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Williford,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Abstained.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. One thing, I'm sorry, when I started the meeting, I meant to do, and that is, Mr. Brock, would you introduce the newest member to the staff at the city, please?
This is Monte Burrow, who is replacing Robert.
We'd like to welcome you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Moving on to
Nice
agenda.
hairline, I might add.
Thank you.
Always stylish.
We're together.
He's getting more forehead to watch.
Yeah, he is.
Moving on to agenda item 3, variance application number 859-14810 Baltimore Avenue, filed by McDonalds USA LLC for recommendation to the Board of Appeals. Mr. Brock.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is a rehear of a variance that was heard by you March 10th, 2015, and it was approved by the Board of Appeals on March 26th, 2015. The reason for it coming back to you is because they made some changes to the site plan, and they're asking for 2 variances. If you look on your plan, you'll see that by the drive lane, they reconfigured the parking to be diagonal instead of perpendicular. And the reason for that is the perpendicular parking requires a 22-foot drive lane. The diagonal, which picks up there at the drive lane, requires 15 feet. No, I'm sorry, 13 feet, and they're providing 15. And on the front of the building, they put in 2 parallel parking spaces. And it requires 11 feet, and they are providing 12 feet. So they have met the conditions that Public Works had addressed prior. In order to do that, they need 2 variances. Prior, the variance was granted to the front setback, which is the parking lot. It requires 25 feet, and it was varied down to 0. Now they're going to put a bump out, so they're varying it from 25 feet down to 2.5 feet. And they're also moving the building forward 2 feet, which is a variance from the 29 feet to 27 feet. So it's 2 feet closer for the parking lot and 2 feet closer for the building. And the applicant is here for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff?
I just have one, just to make sure, and it might be in here and I missed it. Have we run this past the fire marshal?
Yes,
So we're good to getting a truck in there if we had to and all that, right?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one person signed up, Mr. Dan Lynch. Did you want to speak, or did you just want to answer questions if they were needed?
Preliminary comment, explain to you why we're here
If
today.
you could state your name and
Sure.
address for the record, please.
Dan Lynch, an attorney with the law firm McNamee Hosey with offices in Greenbelt, Maryland, here on behalf of McDonald's. Here tonight, after a year of going over this plan with some minor revisions, These revisions were kind of put forth by our operator. When they saw what we had approved by this board, they came back to us and said we need a few more parking spaces. And the result of that, squeezed in some more parking spaces, readjusted the building, shifted it here and there. We're able to meet their needs, and thus we're back before this board with a site plan and with some additional variances on this site. This is an older site, and as with all older sites, we have a lot of difficulty complying with current regulations, whether it be setbacks, landscaping. And so I think we've done a very good job of doing that on this site. One of the things I would point out, and this goes to the issue with regard to fire truck access, we have done a truck template for the site, and we are able to get at least our semi-trucks onto the site. So if we can get that onto the site, the fire truck can get on. In addition, as you may or may not remember, when we designed this site, we also altered the access onto Route 1. Now we don't have full 2 access points. Now it's only a right out, right in and right out. That was done at the request of staff. They just felt there was too many traffic conflicts occurring on Route 1 in front of the site. So we have, as you'll note, altered our access drive so that you can only go right out when leaving the site. And again, so, with that, we think this is pretty straightforward. Again, we're asking for 2 variances. But again, one of the reason really for this is to increase our parking over and above what was previously approved by staff. Technically, we're only required to have 15 spaces on the site. We were going to provide 16 with the last approved plan. Now we're up to 23. So our operator feels comfortable with that. He understands the site, understands its needs, and hopefully this board with this approval will accommodate those needs. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions this board has regarding this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Are there any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. President.
I'll second.
Chairwoman, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
So,
Mr. Stewart.
the variance application number 859, right, Mr. Williford? At 1410 Baltimore Avenue, and it's a recommendation to the Board of Appeals. And I'll be happy to second that motion.
Thank you. Ms. Green, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Williford?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have no other items before the board or the commission. We are adjourned.
Okay, that's the quickest.
Do you think?